wrapped up the month of September, and I always like to look back and see what we saw across the state of Missouri for our temperature and precip. On the left, these are the temperature departures from normal. It's very different than what we saw last year. Last September, we had our hottest September on record. This year was anything but that. We actually, when the numbers get crunched over the next few days, it likely will be a month with below normal temperatures. You can see the greens are anywhere running 1 to 2 degrees below normal across especially northern and parts of western Missouri. The grays are generally about near the September average, and just a few pockets in south central and southwest that average slightly above normal. So overall, it was a below normal month. On the right, for the most part, it was a below normal month in regard to precipitation. The greens are a little bit of an exception to the rule that shows above normal precip in Missouri. Some of the north central, northern parts, a little bit of pocket in central Missouri, and then far southeastern sections did see above normal precip. Unfortunately, it's southwest Missouri that just keeps missing out on these notable rain events this past summer, and they actually were the driest part of the state during the month of September. You see a little bit of corridor of dryness going northeast, pretty much along I-44 on into Illinois. And so we've seen some dry conditions as well, especially east central parts of the state and south of St. Louis. On the bottom right, I've shown some of the heaviest rainfall reports during the month of September over in Jackson County, Cole County, Carroll, and Sullivan. Those are those green pockets that we see above normal precip. And then the lightest rainfall reports, again, southwest Missouri, Barton County, just right around Lamar, the Farm Service Agency office reported only 29 hundredths for the month of September. And typically in September, we would anticipate anywhere from about 3.5 to 4 inches of precip across southwest Missouri. And so over in Jefferson County, just south of St. Louis, Festus, only 79 hundredths. And then back into southwest Missouri, Lawrence and Greene counties, they both had less than an inch for the month of September. What we're seeing across the country is something we haven't seen for quite a few years in regard to the magnitude of this drought that's impacting especially the western half of the country, of course, parts of the central US in Iowa and southwest Missouri, and then another area of notable drought in the far northeast from New York to Maine. But something we need to keep an eye on because there are lots of impacts. Of course, we've seen all the fires and wildfires and record heat across the western US. It's a notable and significant drought situation that's really impacting a significant portion of the US. In the lower left, I just highlighted that with that red box, some of the statistics. Nearly 2/3 of the country is experiencing anywhere from D4 to D0 to D4 conditions. And almost half the United States is 43% is experiencing anywhere from D1 to D4. So it's a widespread situation. I highlighted the situation on the right for Missouri. Of course, with the dry conditions we've seen during the past several weeks, even months, that moderate and severe drought has expanded across southwestern parts of the state. And so, unfortunately, with the forecast over the next week or two, I don't really see any notable improvement. And then they've extended that little bit of area 0 of abnormally dry conditions, a bridge that goes right into the east central parts of the state, and even northwest Missouri. It's been very dry as well over the past few weeks. Some of the current conditions that we see in regard to the latest forecast on the left is a hazardous map that's posted by the National Weather Service. We did get a cold front yesterday that brought in much cooler temperatures. We had highs in the 80s in southern Missouri yesterday, but that's notably different than what we're seeing today with high temperatures generally in the lower 60s across much of the state. Those blues and blues and purples that you see, the National Weather Service has issued frost advisories and freeze warnings. So they are anticipating some freezing temperatures and widespread frost across that part of the area. The area in the upper Midwest and Minnesota where you don't see the blues, they've already had a hard freeze. And so that's why they haven't issued frost advisories for the UP of Michigan as well as northern Wisconsin. But on the upper right, you can see today is another windy day. I think the biggest concern for low temperatures will be tomorrow morning. Those winds are forecast to lighten up over during the evening. That will allow opportunities for radiational cooling and for those temperatures to dip into the 30s. On the bottom middle part, those are maps for what they're anticipating for tomorrow morning's lows. And you can see that 32-degree threshold making it all the way down to west of Des Moines, west central Iowa, into parts of Nebraska. They dip into the mid-30s across northern Missouri. I wouldn't be surprised for especially localized patchy frost, perhaps anywhere across the state, most likely across the northern half of Missouri, but any low-lying area, a sheltered valley, there could be some patchy frost for tomorrow morning. But I don't see anything widespread, no big freeze. That would only be patchy frost is anticipated if it does impact Missouri. This is a 4-day outlook. Of course, we see cooler temperatures today versus what we saw yesterday. There is an indication Friday, perhaps in the upper 50s, middle 60s. On Saturday, another system, a little bit of a reinforcing shot of cold air will impact our location over the weekend. There is a chance of some showers coming in today on Saturday and Sunday. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like a lot of precipitation, very light amounts, generally less than 1/4 of an inch if they do occur. But temperatures will be running below normal as we go into the weekend, but things are going to change as we go into next week in regard to the temperatures. This is the forecast over the next 7 days. Again, little to no precip across much of the United States. Heaviest precip is confined to the far southeast, pretty much along the mid-Atlantic coast. The rest of the country, little to no precip is anticipated over the next 7 days. This is a forecast for next week, October 6th to the 10th. All that heat that's been out west for much of the summer and to the first part of fall is starting to show indications of shifting a little bit further to the east next week. And so they are expecting temperatures to rebound to above normal in Missouri. And typically our average highs this time of year, generally in the upper 60s to lower 70s. So it does look like some, perhaps some a late summer tease for next week with highs perhaps in the middle 70s, maybe even approaching the lower 80s as we get towards the end of next week. Unfortunately, on the right, with these warmer temperatures anticipating for next week, little to no precipitation through much of next week. And so this dryness is really not going to go away and something we'll just kind of need to keep an eye on, especially for those driest areas in southwest Missouri. I was asked to provide just a little bit of slides on some other parts of the program that we have for weather and climate resources here in Missouri. Another a significant aspect of my program is operating a network of weather stations. On the map you see on the left, we call it the Missouri Mesonet. It's a network of 39 automated weather stations. Those 2 red circles you see are weather stations we just set up over the past few weeks. A collaboration with North Central Missouri University in Grundy County in the community of Trenton. We set up a weather station on the Barton Farm. And then just in Cole County, a collaboration with Lincoln University, we've activated a real-time station on the Busby Farm in Cole County. So we now have 39 stations in the network. This is a collaborative effort. I work with John Travels, who works at the university. He is the co-director of the Missouri Mesonet. I'm the other half, where we operate this network and try to keep the weather stations up and running. It's a lot of coverage across the state, but I think it's a great opportunity. We've been running some of these weather stations have been out for almost 30 years. We started setting them up in 1992. When you have nearly 30 years of weather data, you establish a climatology for the area. You get an idea of averages, you get an idea of extremes, and we can look at the trends from decade to decade. And so it's a fairly robust network, and it continues to grow with these 2 new stations that we just set up over the past couple weeks. Some other resources associated with the Mesonet, we call these real-time maps. Several of the stations update every 5 minutes, and so when you have that many stations in the network, you can depict contours and maps and show the latest 5-minute weather conditions. The web link is mesonet.missouri.edu, showed in the lower left. If you go to that website, it'll take you to these locations and you can get the latest information, not only for air temperature, for rainfall, humidity, dew points, soil temperatures at the 2-inch and 4-inch depth, solar radiation, lots of good information on getting just to see what's going on in your area in regard to these environmental conditions. We have an archival on the upper right. If you click on real-time stations, you can see another map, and you can click on the county and you can go to various resources. And for example, I checked the one here in Crawford County and Cook Station on, well, many of these weather stations are located on University of Missouri Ag Experiment Station farms at the research centers. And then if you, on the lower right is if you wanted to get more information on a one-stop shop for your location, you can go what we call the real-time websites. This is the one located at the WordAC Research Center, where you can get the latest 5-minute weather conditions and a little bit of a climatology for today and yesterday. And in the lower right, you can click on that map. It's a Doppler radar image, and it's a nice complement to these 5-minute weather conditions because the radar updates every 5 minutes. So if you click on that radar, it'll give you the latest indication of where the precipitation may be falling. We do have archives. You can click on that red circle there where we see the weather data archive. And if you click on that on the left, it'll take you to a map that looks like what you see on the left. And you can select your variables going all the way back for many, many years. You can get precip, temperatures, you can get hourly data. We do have a collaboration with the Midwestern Regional Climate Center, which is based in Champaign, Illinois. We provide them with all our temperature data. So they have a history going back for some stations nearly 30 years of all the temperature data. What's nice about this collaboration is the Midwestern Regional Climate Center has a very robust system with their tools and their products that you can generate. And this is just one example from Cook Station. We have weather data that goes back to 1993. These are all the monthly and annual average temperatures for nearly 30 years. And so it's a nice resource, and that link that you see below is how to access information for the Mesonet, the Missouri Mesonet stations, among many other stations within the Midwest. But it's freely, you register for, if you want to get on the Midwestern Regional Climate Center, you go to that website, you register, it doesn't cost anything, and it gives you free access to all this data that you can put in formats. So you can do growing degree day information, cooling degree day, growing degree, or just many sorts of heating degree day information is available. We also have a little bit of a partnership with the other Mesonets across the Midwest. This is, again, more collaboration with the Midwestern Regional Climate Center. It's called the Regional Mesonet Program. We provide our soil temperature data, we provide potential evapotranspiration data, and we generate these daily maps to show what you see here for the Mesonet for Missouri, for Illinois, and for Michigan. We provide all the soil temperature information. We've been doing this for about 5 or 6 years now, and so we have an archival. You can look at the latest soil temperatures, not only for Missouri, but what we're seeing also in Illinois and Michigan. A few years ago, a collaboration was done with the Integrated Pest Management Program, and this is something over the years that I've been, many times we get requests about frost and freeze likelihoods for the spring and for the fall. And the data is there. It's just taking that data, compiling it, and putting it in a format that makes it easy to read. And when it comes to looking at our growing season and when we would anticipate our first fall freeze or our last spring freeze. And so the collaboration with the IPM program here at the University of Missouri has helped us to develop this nice product. I put the web link on the bottom where you can get all sorts of information, extreme freezes. You can look at various thresholds of maps. And if you're interested, I would encourage perhaps checking out the website and just seeing what's available in regard to the frost freeze probabilities guide that we have here for Missouri. And lastly, I'll just mention the Climate Center website. I could just sort of touch the basics in regard to some other tools and products that we have that for Missourians to use. And if you go to climate.missouri.edu, you can see on the left side just some of the examples of some tools and products that are Missouri specific, that uses weather data. A lot of this is catered toward agriculture. And so, you know, obviously weather has a huge impact on agriculture, and producers can use it in their management decisions.